This is how you make the entire NHL jealous of you, as in Montreal, on the heels of Lane Hutson's huge discounted deal with the Canadiens, videos have surfaced from the practice facility of every single player individually congratulating Lane Hutson, as we see the camaraderie and the winning mindset and culture that has been established in Montreal that leads to them being one of the scariest teams in the NHL moving forward, as one of the most talented defensemen in the league is locked up long term. The rest of the NHL is looking at the cap structure of the Habs, and it is looking scary, and we even have some other advanced analytics, some graphs, lots of stuff to show that somehow this deal is even better than it looks on the surface, and it's kind of a crazy situation, right? We know what he signed for. We had a video earlier talking about it, but it's what's come out after and the reactions from so many people about this that is just showing, like, people are jealous of Montreal, and we're going to start seeing, look, if you thought it was bad now, Leafs fans, Sens fans, whoever coming after Habs fans, it's probably just going to get worse. They're going to try and find some way to tear the Habs down, even Islanders fans to some extent. But look, I'm on good terms with a lot of fans of those teams, but let's not ruin that. But I want to just point this out first. From Dom Decision to The Athletic, Lane Hutson signs an outrageously team-friendly deal considering his skill set, age, comps, and rapidly exploding salary cap. And in the replies to this tweet, Dom Decision was asked, hey, is this a top what contract in the NHL? He responded, top one. Dom Decision, who loves analytics, at The Athletic, said this is the best contract in the NHL, straight up. I think it could easily be a top 10 contract today, if not top 5, if not top 1. But the impact absolutely is there. And really, the structure behind the contract is what enabled Montreal to do this, because I want to remind everyone, not that you guys need a reminder, but Montreal and Quebec in general is the worst place to play in terms of taxes on your income as an NHL player. So there has been this big narrative going around now that the taxes, tax-free state, yes, it does have an impact. We've heard people from Florida say, like, yeah, like, obviously it's nicer to not have to worry about that. And it does enable them to sign people for deals drastically below what I think the market value is. But the fact that Montreal could pull this off is otherworldly, really. And it's largely because Hutson's getting a lot of his money up front in terms of bonuses, which reduces the taxable income. I know it does. I saw some people say that. I don't exactly know how, so just take my word for it, but whatever. But still, he gets that money up front as well that he can invest in the future. Best time to invest is yesterday. Second best time is today. And that's exactly what's happening with Hutson, with $12 million total dollars in years 1 and 2, 11 of that being signing bonuses. He's getting that cash. He's able to invest it as early as possible. And that's amazing. And the fact that Montreal could do this means Lane Hutson gets more take-home money than Jackson Lacombe and Luke Hughes, which is kind of crazy when those are the two biggest comparables. The fact that Montreal was able to pull this off, of all people against all odds, really has other teams jealous. I'm seeing people saying, really, Alexander Romanov is signed for 8 years by 6.25, I think. And Lane Hutson gets this. Other teams saying similar things, like Trent Frederick, this huge deal in Edmonton. And Lane Hutson gets this. Every team is looking at that. Minnesota Wild fans. Lane Hutson gets just over half of a Kirill Kaprizov on the same term. It's kind of insane, right? And so that is the magic of this all. It's how other teams are looking at, how did Montreal pull this off? Out of everyone. It's honestly ridiculous. And it's even better when you look at how the team is treating it. And I do have a very interesting graph that goes into the impact of this discount in the future. But Suzuki saying, look, he's saying that, the quiet part out loud, I guess. It's something we've heard from the Florida Panthers, but not quite verbatim from the Habs. We have built a culture here where guys are not trying to break the bank. And I think all Lane wants to do is win. And I think he's definitely set us up for that possibility moving into the future. And yeah, that's exactly what Lane Hutson said. He said, look, I told Kent that I have the belief that we aren't far off from being a team that can be a Stanley Cup champion team. And not just once. Hopefully we continue to do it. The belief I have in this group and, the staff, coaches, everything we have in place, I think we're heading in a great direction. Oh, so do I, Lane. Absolutely. On this wonderful Thanksgiving, I have many thanks to give to you and your agent and the Montreal Canadiens for making this work. And again, it's that culture that we can see visually here, which honestly does so much more for me and for a lot of people than I think you could realize. By the way, those mannequins in the back are creepy. Can you look at those mannequins? I thought they were real players for a second. But like, do you ever remember seeing videos like this for other teams? Like when Mitch Marner signed his big extension years ago in Toronto, or Jack, I mean, like, there may be a different scenario there, but like, to see the guys react like this to Lane Hutson. This just, again, goes exactly what Suzuki said. It's like, we want to win. We want to play for each other. And that's something that Marty has really instilled in them as well. And Kent Hughes was able to pull this all off. And even Kent saying, look, I had a conversation with Lane over the weekend. He talked about his views, and it struck me that he wanted to make sure that we understood how much he wanted to be here and how hard he was going to work. I kind of cut him off and said, Lane, there wouldn't be an 8-year deal if we didn't believe in who you were at your core, and that is the Lane train. This is this tank engine right here is what is in Lane Hutson's core, and it's what's sending him to practice first thing in the morning every day. It's what's allowing him to have these end-to-end rushes. If there was anything other than a train in Lane Hutson's system, would he have scored that goal? Would he have scored this goal versus Toronto? I don't think so. I'm just saying we might have created a monster here, because this guy is about to go crazy. And again, 66 points in the rookie year, only 1 point in 3 games so far this year. Can you imagine the pop of the crowd for the home opener against Seattle tomorrow night, which is starting 10 minutes early, by the way. 6:50 is when they start. There's going to be a memorial for Ken Dryden. Every single player has their own theme music for when they're getting introduced. I cannot wait for that. We're going to be talking about all that after the game as well. But Lane Hutson, the pop he's going to get from the crowd, it's going to be cheers on the level of Ivan Demidov last year, because the Habs fans appreciate and respect this. What just a theft, a robbery. I mean, every fan of every team is like, are you kidding me? My team has to do this, and the Habs can do that for Lane Hutson. Just a little side note, I saw another tweet about this. Lane Hutson, Kaiden, Guhle, Noah Dobson, Nick Suzuki, Juraj, Slafkovsky, Cole, Caufield. Your top line, top 3 forwards, top 3 defensemen. They're going to be making 38% of the cap in 2030. That is the last year of Nick Suzuki's deal. This year's Florida Panthers. Again, the Panthers, they're winning Stanley Cups. We know that this model works. They're at almost 50% of the cap with their top 3 forwards and top 3 paid defensemen. And those guys are on what a lot of people consider team-friendly deals. That's how crazy Montreal is stacked for the future. And let me just show you this to go along with it. This is what Hutson's contract is going to look like in terms of this year, or well, I guess last year, 2024-25 cap space in the future. So in terms of a 2024-25 cap, next year, Lane Hutson, when this extension kicks in, because this year he's still on his sub $1 million rookie deal, is going to be the equivalent of a $7.5 million deal from last year. In 3 years from now, it's going to be basically the equivalent of what Gallagher's contract was last year. Let me just repeat that for you. In 3 years' time, Lane Hutson's contract is going to be the equivalent percentage of the cap that Brendan Gallagher's was this past season. Just want to put that out there because that sounds insane to me, and I think it probably sounds insane to you. And by the end of this deal, we're talking Lane Hutson and Kaiden Guhle as a pair, if they stay as a pair in like 2031, even 2032, 2031 for sure. Those guys are going to be the equivalent of $10 million last year. Those two guys will combined be the equivalent of less than one like William Nylander, right? Like that's kind of crazy when you put it into that perspective. At least it is for me. And there's so many different things that I could go into, but there's a reason that NHL fans are jealous of what's happening in Montreal. There's a reason people are trying to find ways to put it down, but even Gravite, who has been very supportive of Lane Hutson in Montreal, of course, fantastic YouTuber as well. Would love to chat with you sometime, Gravite. Doubt you're watching this, but that'd be pretty cool. Shows how much Montreal's players love the team. That Hutson, an American defenseman, coming off a Calder who could have set the market in a landmark deal, decided to take an otherworldly pay cut. And that's exactly it. Like, how can you look at this situation, look at this friendship, look at this happiness for each other, and not say, damn, I wish that was my team, you know? If you're a fan of another team, how do you not say, I wish that was my team? And you know how you do it? You build that winning culture like Nick Suzuki said. You build that culture of being friends with each other, playing for each other, and wanting to achieve that big goal together. That is way, way easier said than done, but Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton have done it from the top in terms of getting these contracts done. I believe Bergevin signed the Suzuki one, though, by the way, too. So credit where credit's due. Fair enough. He made the trade, too. But they've done it when it comes to the contracts. Marty St. Louis and the team have done it when it comes to the play style. It's just a matter of making the youngest team in the NHL, again, reminder, youngest team in the NHL, click on the ice, and it's curtains. That's it. The league is going to be taken over. This is how you build something special, and I am beyond excited. Leave your thoughts on all this down below. That'll do it for this episode. If you want Lane Hutson to score 70 points this year, leave a like on the video. Thank you for watching. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you on the next one.